All right, let's talk about Next.js 16. It's the big new release, and Vercel is hyping it up as a total game changer for speed and simplicity. But, and this is a big but, a lot of developers are discovering that this upgrade isn't exactly a walk in the park. It comes with some pretty serious hurdles. So, what we're going to do here is cut right through all that marketing noise and get to the honest truth about what you're really getting into if you decide to upgrade.
Yeah, and let's be honest, this quote from JavaScript Mastery, it just hits different, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sure this feels familiar to a lot of you out there. The pace is just relentless. You finally feel like you've got a handle on how everything works, and bam, a new version drops, and suddenly things are renamed, things are broken. It's a lot. So the real question we have to ask is this particular update actually worth all that hassle?
So, first things first, let's look at the promise. What's all the hype about? Vercel isn't just calling this an update, they're calling it a whole new era. But what does that even mean? What are they selling us on here? Okay, so what is the big deal? Well, there's a lot to unpack. At the top of the list is Turbopack, their new Rust-based bundler. That's the secret sauce behind all the speed claims. Then you've got these new cache components, which basically give you way more control over what gets cached and when. We also get stable support for the React compiler, which is awesome because it means more automatic performance optimizations without us having to lift a finger. And get this, there's even AI-assisted debugging now. It's a ton of new stuff. But this is the number that's making everyone's head turn. Vercel is claiming a 2 to 5 times speed up for production builds, and even crazier, up to 10 times faster hot reloading while you're coding. Now, if that's legit, we're not just talking about saving a few seconds here and there. That's a fundamental change to how we work, right? It totally transforms that feedback loop. And of course, the marketing machine is in full swing. You see quotes like this from course creators, and it perfectly captures the story they're trying to tell. The message is pretty clear, right? They're basically saying, hey, the way you used to build Next.js apps, that's old news. This is the future, and you better get on board.
Okay, but that shiny future, it comes with a price tag. And now we get to the part of the story the marketing materials tend to skim over, the real cost of upgrading. What actually breaks when you bravely type npm install next at latest? Let's find out.
All right, buckle up because this is the big one. This is the single biggest breaking change that's going to hit you. All those APIs for getting request info like page params, cookies, headers, they're all asynchronous now. This isn't some small tweak, it's a massive shift in how you write your code, and it's probably going to touch every single app out there. Now, why'd they do it? Well, it's all about lining up with modern web standards and unlocking cooler stuff like streaming UI straight from the server. And here's what that actually looks like in your code. So on the left, that's the old way in Next.js 15, right? You just grab parameters.slug, nice and easy. But look at the right. This is Next.js 16. Now your whole page function has to be async, and you've got to await the params before you can touch them. Same goes for cookies. It definitely forces you to think more about your data flow, but hey, this is the change that enables all that powerful new server-side magic.
Oh, but the fun doesn't stop there. There are a few other hurdles to watch out for. First off, Node.js 18 is out. You've got to be on at least version 20.9.0 now, which could be a pain depending on your setup. And if you've got a super custom Webpack config you're proud of, yeah, Turbopack's just going to ignore it. You'll also need to rename your middleware.test file to proxy.ts, and they've even tweaked the API for revalidating tags. So yeah, lots of little landmines.
And all these breaking changes, well, they're causing some real frustration out there in the developer community. I mean, you see comments like this one from Poop Lord on Reddit, and while the language is, let's say, colorful, it really does sum up how a lot of people are feeling, that the framework is just getting too complex and moving way too fast.
So this really brings us to the central question, doesn't it? We're talking about Turbopack and the trade-off between speed and simplicity. Is that raw performance boost actually worth all the pain of migrating?
Well, if you look at the real-world data, the answer seems to be a pretty strong yes. Check out this chart. It's from a real agency that migrated their website. With Webpack, their build time was over 11 seconds. With Turbopack, just over 4 seconds. That is a massive, measurable improvement. We're talking nearly 3 times faster. You can't really argue with those numbers.
And you know, it's about more than just shaving seconds off a build pipeline. The real win here is for us, the developers. When your tools are basically instant, it changes how you think. It gets rid of that little bit of friction, that hesitation you feel before trying something new. You end up experimenting more, you're not afraid to refactor, and you can just stay in the zone, in that perfect state of flow.
All right, let's talk about the next big shift, and this one's a doozy, caching. Next.js is basically changing its whole philosophy here. We're moving away from that kind of magical, sometimes confusing fetch-based system to something way more hands-on and explicit.
And the core of this new world is something called cache components. It's pretty simple, actually. You just add a little use cache directive at the top of a file, and you're explicitly telling Next.js, hey, cache this thing. And this is what finally makes partial pre-rendering, or PPR, a real stable feature. Think about it. You can have a product page that's mostly static and super fast, but just one little component, like items you recently viewed, can be dynamic and cached on its own. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
Okay, but with all this new server power comes great responsibility. Seriously, security is more important than ever. Because the line between server code and client code can get really blurry, it's become scarily easy to accidentally leak secret keys or other sensitive data. So here's the golden rule you have to burn into your brain. If you pass it as a prop to a client component, it's going straight to the user's browser.
Here's a perfect example of what not to do. Look at the unsafe code on the left. Someone's passing the entire config object, secret API key and all, right down to a client component. That's a huge security hole. The right way to do it, on the right, is to only pass down the specific public data that the component actually needs, nothing more. And pro tip? Using the server-only package can help you enforce this and catch mistakes.
So, we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, which leads us to the million-dollar question. Should you actually upgrade to Next.js 16 today? Let's break it down. This chart pretty much lays it all out. Look, if you're spinning up a brand new project, or if your current build times are just killing your productivity, then yeah, upgrading now is a no-brainer. But, on the other hand, if your app is a tangled mess of custom Webpack configs, or if you're right in the middle of a big deadline, just wait. The risk and the distraction probably aren't worth it right now. If your app is stable and fast enough, there's no rush.
And just to give you a ballpark idea of the effort involved, that same agency we talked about, it took them about 4 hours to migrate their medium-sized site. That included hunting down all the async API calls and fixing a custom SVG loader that Turbopack didn't like. Now, obviously, your experience could be totally different, but it's a decent, realistic benchmark to start with.
So when you boil it all down, here's the deal. Next.js 16 really does feel like a glimpse into the future. It's incredibly fast, it's powerful, but it's not a free upgrade. It comes with a real cost in terms of breaking changes and yeah, a bit of new complexity. So the question I'll leave you with isn't, is this the future of web dev? It probably is. The real question is your project ready to pay the price of admission right now?